Good afternoon. This is Norman Daniels at Paxton Presbyterian Church. And today we're going to look at John Quincy Adams Rutherford. John was born on November 1st, 1843. His parents were John Brisbane and Keziah Park Brisbane. And he was one of 8 children. He lived on a farm down towards a subway in Paxton, and their farm included all of what is now the borough of Paxton. So it was quite a large farm. They were actually a very well-to-do family. As they grew up, he and his family, they were abolitionists. There's some talk that they were part of the Underground Railroad. And there's a story that I was told by a family member of the Rutherfords a few years ago, that he said that before the Civil War, that John Quincy Adams, or J.Q.A. as he liked to be called, was riding down the farm lane with their farm wagon, and riding up the lane came two men who were slave catchers, and they were trying to find runaway slaves to take them back to captivity. And when they told John that's what they were looking for, he pulled out a firearm and told them, well, they had 2 choices. They could turn around and ride away and never come back, or he would use that wagon to carry their bodies back to Virginia. It was their choice. They decided to leave. And so he was a rather strong individual, even at that time, because he would have at that point only been about 18 or so. So when the Civil War broke out, he joined Company K of the Pennsylvania Militia when General Lee invaded the North for the first time. That invasion was turned back at the Battle of Antietam on September 17th, 1862. When that ended, then he was discharged, and then he joined again to Company G, 201st Infantry, in August 23rd, 1864 for 1 year. At that particular time that General Grant was fighting in Virginia in the famous Overland Campaign, and there were horrendous casualties. And so what he ended up doing was he was serving at home, but then that released another man to fight with Grant. So he first joined up at Camp Curtin, which is now around where the Farm Show building is today. They were moved to Chambersburg and then at McConnellsburg, and during the McConnellsburg area, during the fall and winter of 1864-65, his company's duty was to capture deserters. And it said during that period of time they captured about 500 deserters that were trying to get away from the battlefield. In May, he was sent to Pittsburgh for provost duty, and then he was sent back to Camp Curtin in June of 1865, where he was mustered out on the 21st. He married Margaret Brown Elder in 1868. Now that's interesting because the 2 largest families that Paxton had was the Rutherfords and the Elders. And there wasn't a lot of interaction between them as far as marriages were concerned, considering the numbers and everything. But they both had different philosophies. The Rutherfords were abolitionists, and some of the Elders had slaves. And so that mindset, I'm sure, drove a wedge in some cases between the family. But in this case, love will out, and they did get married. He built a farmhouse for his wife, and the farmhouse is still standing. It's actually behind the post office on Derry Street. If you look behind it, you'll find a large red brick house. That was their home that he built for his wife from 1868 to 1869. And beside the post office is a street called Hebron Street, and that was their farm lane at that time. So they had 9 children during their life together. He was a farmer for 50 years. He was a school director for 6 years. He was a Swatower Township commissioner. He was a member of G.A.R. Post 58, and you can see the Civil War star emblem there. He was very proud of his military service, and in his obituary, several paragraphs were devoted to what he did during the war. In 1873, he started a dairy retail business, which he ran for 40 years. He was a lifelong Republican, and his first vote was for Abraham Lincoln. He was a director of the Hummelstown National Fire Insurance Company. He joined Paxton Church in 1886, and he was one of the pillars of the church. He was the president of the Board of Trustees for 25 years. He was an elder. It was said of him, his judgment was sound and whose counsel was wise. He always had at heart the highest welfare of Paxton. I know in reading the trustee books and other books, he was always involved with the trustees or projects. His name was everywhere during the period of time that he was active. He was also interested in history, and it's through his efforts that several priceless artifacts of Paxton were saved, such as the 1847 bench, the baptismal stand that's in our sanctuary, as well as the pulpit light, also in our sanctuary. He died in February 11th, 1934. It was said of him, his kindly and genial presence among us will be greatly missed. Every church and organization needs their angels. Without them, these organizations cannot survive. John Quincy Adams Rutherford was one of the angels, and it's because of his work today, or his work at his time, that we are here today. Thank you. And today, I want to remind you that we are open for business at church at 9 o'clock Sunday mornings. You're welcome to come. We are still maintaining our live streaming, if you'd rather do that. And I wish you a pleasant day.